How's it going, everybody? Today we are going to do something really cool. So there are SNMP traps, right? They can be sent and intercepted by our tools one way or another, but it's relatively theoretical. And what I want to show you is how to put it into practice. So first of all, we're gonna create some SNMP traps, and then we're gonna review them, and then we're gonna map them to OBM using a custom policy in operations connector. So first thing first, of course, I will install the SNMP utils over here in my Linux server that is monitored by our suite, but it's not really necessary because it's going to be using an SNMP protocol and not an agent that is installed on it. On operations connector itself, I'm going to install a tcpdump. tcpdump is a tool that allows me to listen to traffic on a specific port just to understand if I'm even getting anything. So I'll give you a scenario. Let's say you created a SNMP policy and you expect some traps to be intercepted and sent to OBM as events, and nothing arrives. Nothing is there. What's the problem? Well, maybe the problem is that nothing happened. Maybe your equipment or maybe your software is configured in a way that sends only relevant traps, right? So there is no traffic. Maybe nothing happened, nothing failed. So it's very important to understand that is there any traffic on the SNMP port, right, on the port 162. So we're going to do just that. We are going to do two things. One of them is send traffic, another one is receive to see that we actually get it. And then based on what we found, will be able to progress into actual policy creation. So let's do just that. So I guess both of the machines have their software installed. So I'll send a sample SNMP trap like that. Let's see, it works, no errors. On the receiving end, I will actually go and I'll run a TCP dump. Okay, and now I'm just going to send the trap once more, and we'll see that if the TCP dump actually is able to spot something, and there we go. It shows me that the source from this specific IP of the Linux server, the remote Linux server, actually sent something, and it's a V2 trap. Fantastic. So now we know that it works. Let's see how it plays out in the operations connector itself. We'll go and create an event policy based on the SNMP interceptor, and always expand the editing window in OPSBridge. It just allows you to press the buttons at the same location where I'm doing that, and also you get full controls. So we're gonna say, you know what, SNMP is cool. That's going to be the name of the policy. As you see, the policy doesn't have a source stub. So basically any SNMP traffic sent to the server is going to be intercepted. So severity unknown, correlation, category not really important. Okay, we'll go just directly into the rules and we're gonna do something cool. Okay, first of all, we'll create event on matched rule. And we're gonna say rule. Okay, one rule to rule them all. Okay, always name your rules and also make the name descriptive, because if you filter out lots of traffic, probably you want to have some order and organization in it. All right, so first order of business, the SNMP trap that we were sending so far, it's not a very productive trap. If you are familiar with the syntax, it's not good. It's not good. This is the proper way to send it. It has much more details in it, and it would be actually be able to be interpreted by SNMP interceptor. Otherwise, this is just gibberish. And if you wonder what this trap means, basically, this is a standard test trap that you can send. And if you go to the OID library in the internet and search for this specific OID, which is the SNMP content here with the numbers, you'll see that it's a standard test, just a test. The way it works, by the way, when the SNMP trap is sent to the target server and it's able to intercept, it would say, well, no, I don't know what that number is, what that number is, what that number is. So it would go back and forth and retrieve all of the details of this policy. Probably our AOS server over here doesn't have all of those details stored in its internal configuration, but that's good enough in order to work with our policy for testing and for understanding the basic concepts. Okay, so at the beginning, we are not going to do anything with the condition over here. The condition doesn't say anything. We're just going to say in the event attributes, going to say title is going to be SNMP trap. And then we'll take the policy variables. As you see, there are billion, well, not billion, but quite a lot of policy variables. And all of the numbers 1 through 15 are consecutive parameters that you can retrieve from the SNMP trap. So for example, if we look at the SNMP trap, that would be $1, parameter number 1. That would be parameter number 2, sorry. That will be parameter number 3, right? So when you specify in the policy details the filtering rules, for example, you say, you know what, I want to see the $1. It's just going to specify $1. In the description, I'm going to say, you know what, I want to have the details of all of the components of the SNMP trap. Just list them out. I want to see them. And it's really useful because sometimes you just don't understand what are the contents of the SNMP trap when you build a policy for the first time. So the first policy that you create would have all of the parameters listed in the description, which would allow you to review them later, and then you can actually modify the policy and say, you know what, in the title, I don't want parameter number 1. I want parameter number 10, because parameter number 10 actually has some data that I can find useful in terms of looking at it, right? But for now, let's do $1. We're not going to use ETI at the moment. The node itself is going to be MSG node. You know what, the node is going to be MSG node name. And we're going to drag and drop the MSG node name into the related CI. So just, you know, in a good taste, you want to have the your events to be mapped to certain CIs. And we know that the operations connector is an existing CI in our OBM always. So it's a good way to start. The category, let's say, is going to be infra. All right. So I guess we are ready more or less. Let's go to our option and we'll say unmatched events are forwarded to the OMI server. Now, you need to be super careful with this setting. On one hand, it's very useful. For example, if you receive a ton of traffic and you want to filter specific events, specific SNMP traps, but you don't know which one are useful to you. Let's say it's a new system and you want to set up kind of a POC or whatever, and you want to impress the end user, right? So you are going to capture all of the SNMP traffic sent to operations connector, and you want to see all of those events in OBM, and then later, of course, you will be filtering them out. The problem is why you need to be careful is basically you are going to spam the system. So be very careful with the setting. Develop your policies in a staging environment, never on production, because this thing can fill up to, let's say, 5,000 events per hour. It would just suffocate. Okay, your OBM would suffocate. So again, use it in staging. Very useful for debugging. Once your policy is ready for production, just go ahead, modify it, and say unmatched events are ignored. So it would be able to send only the things that you need. But for now, we just want to send everything that we have. All right. So we save and close. And we are going back to our operations connector, and as you see, the policy is deactivated. We need to activate it, or in OBM terms, it's called deploy. Basically, it deploys the policy on itself. The operations connector now has the policy in its repository, and now we want to test it. So let's go to my workspace. I'm going to acknowledge all of the events. I just don't want to see them anymore. Okay, just to have a clean canvas to see what's going on. I'll go and send the test SNMP trap just once more. And then I'm going back to OBM, and there we go, SNMP trap, and then the parameter was filled with some data. Not very useful data, but still the data nevertheless. All right, let's see the contents. We go to additional info, and we see that the trap basically sends this integer. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the text that it sends. So let's see if we can send some text. Text. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't know what it means. It doesn't like the text. All right, it just likes the numbers. Fantastic. Maybe I can send a parameter like this. No, it just doesn't like text. It likes numbers. So number would be whatever. There we go. Let's go back to our OBM. We'll close the event details, and we'll see that we received just another one. So there we go. SNMP. Okay, instead of SNMP, I typed SNMP, but that's our custom policy at work over here. As you see, it kind of works. So in a normal scenario, the event details, and let's review them once more, it would have something else. It would have a list of all of the parameters here in the description, and it would just list out all of the contents of the SNMP policy that were sent to us. But since this is just a test policy, and the sending server doesn't actually have a mapping of all of those components, it just means that we are just get the whole message as a parameter number 1, which includes this. Okay, nothing else is sent, just one parameter. Let's try and separate the parameters one by one. Okay, oh, sorry. Let's provide some more numbers. So the first numbers would be 11111 space 22222. Let's see what it says. Missing type. Okay, the type is going to be I222222. Let's see if it's able to accept it. I missing type value. Okay. All right. So that just means that I don't understand the SNMP policies at all, which is completely fine. By the way, here's the interceptor. And it says, well, all of those were received. So this is how you monitor the traffic if actually something was sent to you. And there we go. We got another SNMP trap. So some of you might think, Alexei, what are you doing, man? It's like not cool. He just intercepts all traffic and sends it to OBM. What if you get 100 of these? That's a very legitimate feedback. So we need to modify our rule because so far we were testing is the SNMP policy is working, but you need to home on specific details of your SNMP policies. So for example, if you have multiple OIDs, you want to specify specific enterprise ID that you're going to use and nothing else. So we're gonna do just that. We're gonna home on specific. I'm gonna home specific details. So I'm going to specify that I need just this portion of the policy. Okay, and I don't care about the generic ID and specific ID. This just allows me a little bit more flexibility in order to home in. Now, another perceptive people would say, Alexei, you know what? But when I look at the interceptor, I see that it says it's V2 trap. And also when I'm sending it out, it says version 2C. Why are you going and modifying the SNMP v1 notation? And the answer is pretty simple. SNMP is a protocol. The version 1 and version 2 are interchangeable. There are basically other different ways of looking at the data, and whatever you send in version 2 can be interpreted by version 1, and version 1 can interpret the version 2. So here we see that it mentions SNMP v1, but basically all SNMP traps in version 1 and 2 can be accepted. Version 3, not as much. I guess there might be an update later, but I also guess Not many people are using the version 3 because, well, what's the point? I mean, if you look at the SNMP protocol in general, what's the point in version 3? It doesn't contribute that much to your stuff. And if you're using SNMP, probably it's going to be something outdated. Normal people use REST API, and old stuff using SNMP. SNMP is not the answer for everything. So version 1 and version 2 are still pretty useful in that area. Version 3 is a newer instance of it, but what's the point? Probably if something has version 3 in it, probably it can do stuff using REST API, JSON, or whatever. So probably it will going to be more useful to you that way, right? So now we save and close. And we are going to test our policy just once more. Let's close the event details. We will redeploy the policy. So every time you modify the policy, the old version is kept, but the new version needs to be redeployed. So you click on enable just once more, and the new version is redeployed. So we test it out. First of all, we send the same thing to our OBM server. Let's look at it. There we go. Now I would like to see, maybe I can change the OID to something else. For example, instead of 7.2 over here, I'm going to say 7.3, which is not part of our policy. And then we will see something interesting. You see that one? That is a policy that got intercepted, but not understood by the interceptor. So it just outputs all of the irrelevant details, and the severity is unknown. Let's see why that is. When we click to modify the policy, we'll see that the severity unknown is part not of our rule that we created by ourselves, but by our default mappings. The default says whatever arrives, the first thing is unknown, and the rule overrides the unknown with a setting that we created. And the reason we still get it is because the unmatched events are forwarded to OMI server. Okay, so now let's go back to our OBM and review the new SNMP trap, the event for SNMP trap, to see what is it talking about. And it just basically mentions the contents of it. So now you can, well, in your debug work, you can say, you know what? Generic 6, specific 1, community, public, enterprise, all of those details, and you can say, you know what, that one is irrelevant. But if you get 50 of those, and let's say 5 of the messages are relevant and they have details that you really want to have in your OBM, you would grab those settings from here and you map them into additional rules in your policy. Okay, and that's your way of homing on specific messages, finding the pearls in the mess, right? And once you are done with it, you'll go back to your policy editor and you say unmatched events are ignored because now we are ready for production, right? And now when I send the wrong event, you see it says 7.3, OBM should not receive anything. You see 0 new events. Let's acknowledge all of those events just to clear the canvas over here. All right. And when I'm sending this trap with the incorrect, unrecognized OID, the one with 7.3 over here, I get nothing in OBM. Oh, actually, I get something. Probably my policy did not work. Let's see what's going on. All right, I did not redeploy the new rule. There we go, you see? This is how you make crucial mistakes. If I would export it and put it into production system, I would be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed. All right, let's send it once more. And now we'll see if the policy actually responsive. So there we go with the wrong OID, that one that is not filtered by conditions. We don't get it. But if we'll take the one that is recognized, 7.2 over here, you see, 7.2, and we go to our OBM, there it is. So this is how you filter out all of the mess. I've seen an example not too long ago where the filtering on the sender of the SNMP traps was not set properly, and it was just blasting the operations connector server with tons of messages, like hundreds of messages per minute. Okay, and using this technique of filtering out, you get only the good stuff and no garbage, no spam, right? So this is how you do it, and now our policy works. And that's about it, I guess. If you like this video, please, hit that like button, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.